I'm coming from a lay person in the street. I'm a Jewish woman living in a Jewish community with a Jewish family. And when I heard Rishi Sunak's speech, I breathed a sigh of relief because it's somebody that's speaking out for us. I want to ask you a question, Sangita, because I listen to you and often my blood boils listening to you. And I feel Lee Anderson, all these people that are being, I mean, and this is a genuine question, all these people that are being told off, as it were, are people that us Jews feel are speaking out for us. And I want to ask, am I missing something? Because without doubt, none of this would have happened if the atrocities of October the 7th hadn't have happened. We fear for our lives. We fear for our children on the streets of the UK. You know, we have people, my family included, looking to move to Israel because we don't feel safe here. I saw there was a post on Facebook recently. It was an ultra-Jewish guy being incredibly disrespectful to one of the Queen's guards. Not right. Like the way he behaved was wrong. But the vitriol and hate and the comments, because he was Jewish, were unbelievable and frightening. And this is the world we're living in. Because if he had been black, and if he had been Muslim, or if he had been gay, whatever, none of those comments would have been about his race, sexuality. But because we are Jewish, there is nothing that we can do right. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Rishi Sunak is the first person, I feel, not the first person, but he is speaking out for our safety as well. Lee Anderson, there was an element of that as well. You know, the policing that goes on the streets of London, which is run by the mayor, is shocking. If any of us spoke or raised placards against the Muslim community the way it has been towards us, I'm sorry, I'm not being very articulate because I'm so angry. We would be condemned. We are condemned for anything we say and anything we do. There is no doubt there is one rule for us and another rule for everybody else. And I want to tell you, many, many, many years ago, I was running a company, a team of people. We outsourced our human resources, and there was one young man who was dreadful, and I needed to get him disciplined. And we're going back 20 years, and I rang our outsourcing company, and they said, "What's his name?" And they said, "Muhammad." I said, "It was Muhammad." And they went, "Oh, you've got to be careful. He's Muslim." And I said, "What's the difference? I'm Jewish." It is such an inherent part of everybody else's lives. Everybody hates us. I mean, that's a very simplistic way of putting it. But Rishi Sunak spoke out for us. What's wrong with that? I'm asking you genuinely, am I missing something?
You said quite a lot there, and unfortunately we've only got about 4 minutes left on this hour. So I'll take you back to what you said initially, which was that you felt that Lee Anderson had in part spoken out for you. I'm just going to play you what Lee Anderson actually said last week.
Now, I don't actually believe that these Islamists have got control of our country, but what I do believe is they've got control of Khan and they've got control of London. And again, this stems with Khan. He's actually given our capital city away to his mates.
So there's Lee Anderson there saying that Sadiq Khan, the elected mayor of London, was mates with Islamist extremists, and that he had, quote, given away London, the whole capital city, to Islamist extremists. Can you see what's problematic with that?
I can see why it is believed that, why people believe that. I can see why people think that. You know, the pro-Palestinian marches that have gone on, of course there are people that are demonstrating peacefully, but there's a huge number that aren't. And it's not just on those marches. It is in the street. You know, our posters that have been taken down of our hostages, you know, people saying that it didn't happen, people taking down. If we did that and took down, posters of Palestinian prisoners, can you imagine what would happen? So yes, I can see why he said it.
Do you
Sadiq Khan is
do you
in charge
believe
of
what
the police.
he said, Claudine? Do you agree with Lee Anderson?
There's a part of me that does agree with it, yeah. And because I live in fear on the streets when I walk out with my Star of David, with my children at a Jewish school when they have to take their blazers off. Yeah. They walk from their school to a station and get abused and bullied.
If you say that you listen quite regularly, well, if you listen quite regularly, you will know that I have outright condemned anti-Semitism. I have had arguments with people who have come on here and tried to justify the 7/10 attacks. You will know very well, because I've told stories about how critical actually my Jewish friends were to my life and what happened to me in terms of having a successful career in journalism.
I didn't hear that. Apologies. I didn't hear that. Apologies.
If you were listening regularly,
to you last week.
If you wouldn't mind me finishing the sentence, you will have heard me, in fact, at the start of this hour, very clearly saying that what Rishi Sunak said at the beginning of the speech was absolutely quite right, that we as a community here in Britain must not let extremists, either anti-Semites or Islamophobes, split us apart. So if you are a regular listener, you would have heard me saying all of those things and articulating myself extremely clearly over and over again. However, Claudine, what I would say is, I am incredibly sorry that you fear walking on the streets of England, and there has undoubtedly been an uptick in both Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, which, if you do listen regularly, you will know that I have condemned and that we have picked apart many times on this show. You will also know that I find it really quite egregious that Lee Anderson, elected MP, has gone about spreading in the public sphere an Islamophobic trope that only circulates amongst far-right groups. And how do I know that, Claudine? I know that because, as a regular listener, as you say you are, you would have heard me doing a very, very extensive, in-depth interview with a chap called Nick Lowles, who is himself Jewish, in fact, and is chief executive of Hope Not Hate. And what Nick did rather brilliantly, in my view, was dissemble what Lee Anderson said and why it is so dangerous, not just for Muslims or Jews, but actually for the whole of democracy, because we cannot allow misinformation to fester. So if you are a regular listener to me, Claudine, you will know that I have expressed outright condemnation of what happened on 7/10. I have explained how there is no justification for it. I've also gone about making it extremely clear that the criminal justice system must deal with full force against anyone who is found to be anti-Semitic and worse still, threatening or attempting to hurt the Jewish community. And the same applies for the Muslim community. So Claudine in St Albans, I have deep sympathy with your position, and thank you for being a regular listener.